My nose, Donna.
I'll start. You brought up Bobby Wagner kind of unprompted at the podium. What does it mean knowing you've got all these pending free agents and how big of an impact they made?
Like all of the players, whenever we bring somebody in, whether it's a drafted player or a free agent, this is the role, this is what I see him doing, and so sometimes you meet them, and other times you even exceed those, what they can be. And so many guys play these key roles on our team. You've heard the term glue guys and things that can, make an impact to others, and there were so many of them. But Bobby was certainly one of those as a driving factor in that, and so he was a really important piece to what we did. Any comments on him? You have to talk to his agent.
Understand.
He is his agent. So.
As an observer,
I've been waiting to say that so long.
you really built a brotherhood in that locker room. It was remarkable to watch. When you've got a guy like John Allen and the business of football is the business of football, how are those conversations for you as someone that really cares about his players?
Yeah, and I think what I'd like to make sure I'm clear, they established it. And so I get to be a part of it, but it's theirs. And that's like so important for everybody to know, because that's not just for one season. It's how they connect, how they onboard people, how the next group comes in, and how important that is. And so this time of year specifically is when football and business intersect, and that's part of it. It's part of it for all of us. And so it's not uncomfortable, because you want to make sure if you do have relationships, you want to communicate with people, players, coaches, all of those things. But it is this postseason time that those take place. No team is the same year to year. We know that. And so those are always, decisions regarding team and, how do you do it the best to get the whole thing together. And it's a puzzle, and it's never one thing and how it goes. And I'm certainly fortunate with Adam. Like, we just talk about the team every day and how we can do things to get better. And so that's not specific to one player. That's specific to the whole thing.
Dan, after the season. Do you expect him to be back?
You have to talk to his agent. Yes. That's why I'm so excited. You have to talk to his agent.
With regards to with the 28 guys that you have, obviously you want to bring a lot of them back, but what's the line of like, want to bring back a lot of guys from last year, but we also need to get new blood, improve? What's like sort of that range of number for you that you'd like to bring back if possible?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a specific number, Ben, but what there is, it's almost like, I'm not going to call it two free agencies, but there's like the players now and that we're here, and how do we work on them to get them back into it, and then adding new groups into it. So how do you splice those two groups together in addition to a draft class? The other part that we're leaving out is like, there's going to be a really big jump of development of our own rookies that were in year one. And so as they're going through their first off season together, these big jumps can take place for them. And so we met with each of them individually, and every player to have a plan to say, these are the specific things that we want to do. And not every single one of them is a physical skill or a trait. It might be a knowledge thing. It might be an injury to come back from. Whatever that looks like, that's a really exciting thing too. So I love that those guys are getting better, and then we're adding the group, but there's not a specific number that we attach. Hey, we need 6, we need 10, we need 5. It's more the fit.
To that point about you see is being able to jump into bigger roles next season if those guys will.
Well, a lot of them took on big roles, but there is more to go as you're looking into it, and it will play out as we go. But I don't know if I would say this person over this person, but I do see upskilling taking place. A number of these guys are really ready and chomping at the bit to take on a bigger bite. They got to go compete for that. And when you get those chances, these are some people that you'd want to bet on. Like, they're ready to get down.
Hey, Coach.
Evaluate younger pass rushers or even veteran pass rushers. Are there must-have traits for you, and are there certain metrics that you really am?
Yeah, I think you have to be able to have initial quickness. Beating somebody to the punch, Nikki, is so important at that spot. The bigger the offensive line, they're more difficult sometimes. I can't get through them, I can't get around them. So how do I beat a guy to the spot to get him to move, to get under him? So that initial quickness, much like two people fighting, can I get the shot in? Can I get the punch in? Can I beat him to that spot? And if you have that trait, that's it. You don't have to be, there's not a certain 40 speed. this is an initial quickness, how quickly you can anticipate, you can get going. That's the number one thing.
Hey, Coach, you talked about the defense a little bit. Cal Kennard from South Carolina, you all had a chance to talk to him. You talked about getting to know the people a little bit better. What did you find out about him specifically?
I found out a lot also about like the leadership and what they stand for as a team there. And there's an important message that can go with that and how important that is to us. And the people that are here, how hard they're willing to go. Give me an example of something that took place that helped you, make an impact there. What are some things people would describe you as? What are you known for there? And you can tell some people are like, is this guy messing with me right now? But it's an important part to me because I want to find out what's behind the ribcage and what that person has. And I'm not going to find that out in a 20-minute interview, but I do want to know behind them what's happening and what will they say, and is that accurate when we go back to follow up on that. And so it's a great first start to find out how much some of these guys are in, and for their teammates, especially in this day and age of transferring and going, and they may be able to get acclimated quicker than some, because I already had to do that. I already had to go to another school and learn new people and learn new teammates and learn a new offense or a defense. So I think if you look at it from a silver lining, some of the people that stay, that's good because their connection is longer, but the people that had to move around some, there can be an advantage to that too, where they had to really self-reflect and say, boy, I said I wanted to start over and here I am. And you hear that from some of these guys. I had to put in the extra. So knowing they had to fight for it to get standing here at the Combine today and get this invite, that's not easy.
As you start meeting these players.
Go ahead, you want to follow up?
Yeah, and in building this team, assessing them, where do you start from now in just getting better in what you saw from last year, some key points in this year in how you want to build this team even farther?
Yeah, there's no question about that. That's the one expectation I have, is for us to absolutely relentlessly go after our improvement. And some of that is skill related, some of that is coaches defining what specific scheme, what things are we adding, what are we taking out, what do we need to start doing, what do we need to stop doing. And if we continue to do that, not just with one player or 5 players, but with everybody, coaches included, that's when the collective group rises. And that's honestly what we're going to chase really, really hard.
As you start this evaluation process with the prospects, does the immediate success from last season affect the way that you look at potential draftees with regards to guys who have the talent but might need a little time to develop versus guys that can step right in and play right away?
Yeah. I don't want to make it so specific like they have to step into play. I think in that case, there could be a fantastic player that just needed more seasoning.
Yes.
We happen to had some success for some guys that played a little longer in college. That could have been all sorts of circumstances. The guy had more experience, and I think Jaden's like the perfect example of that, of like all those starts. You saw it. You saw that experience coming. That's not to say another player who's coming out early. It's just customized. The main thing that I want to make sure I can always provide to Adam is like, this is the role we see, for this player and how we would play him and what that would look like. And I do love that our scouting and coaching staff, connect. Free agent meetings last week, showing tapes together, discussing things like those are cool things. So I was looking forward to being here this week specifically to bond some with the college scouts. They can feel disconnected at times because they're out on the road at some spots when we're high-fiving in the locker room. And you can feel a little disconnected, but make no mistake, like the success of the draft comes from those long drives from one college to another and one game to another, and typing in reports at late at night. So the work that they put in may be unseen, but it is certainly not unappreciated.
Dan, at the end of last year, obviously you're still coaching coach week-to-week mode, and the disappointment is there because you're trying to maximize what you could have done in 24. Now that you have a little separation and you're thinking about team building for 25, has that created any kind of new appreciation for what you guys just did?
Yes, and I think you're right. There did need to be some space and some separation. Usually at the end of the season you're tired, and so I was that too, where you're agitated and what could I, woulda, coulda, shoulda, those ones that keep you up at night. But as the final game took place, there is some renewal. also that takes place, and being here is, I know there's an official league year coming up, but for like most coaches, like this is the start of the league year in a lot of ways, because it does kick off what is going to be an exceptional year. So yeah, there was now more time to reflect, where after the season you get right into evaluations, things you like, things you didn't, and now you have a little bit of space to reflect and say, we're going to do more of that, we're going to do less of that, and some things that made a huge impact, like the connection of the team. I would say that locker room, that means more maybe than it ever has in my career, because I saw firsthand how far they're willing to go for one another. So I'm certainly not losing sight of that.
Now that the dust is settled, how does it feel for you to retain most of your coaching staff, specifically Cliff at the top?
Yeah, all of them, honestly, and it's a really strong staff, and they're made up of teachers, they're made up of guys that can evaluate and find matchups to go through it. I love that they want to be part of something really unique here, and together, them, players, staff, like we're absolutely going to go after it. Can we create an environment in pro ball that's hard to do, but there's such a big part of that. I feel so supported by them. This is how we got to go to win this game. This is what we need to do at practice today. And so if I say something in a staff meeting and then I hear the player report it back later in the day or later in the week, I know the message from me is going through them and to the player. And so if I hear that back, I know they're supporting that, and that means a lot, because you want to make sure it can't just come from me. It's got to come from me. It's got to come from teammates, the other assistants. So it's a really, really cool group to be a part of.
Got time for three more. Two of your young guys that played a lot, obviously Brandon Coleman and Mikey. They finished the year at left tackle, outside corner specifically. Is that how you envision them going into this offseason, as to where you guys think you want to play them?
I think I'll keep fresh eyes to see what's the best way for us to play. Nice part, these are guys that are versatile, that can do more than one job. And if I didn't feel that way, I would say absolutely yes. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I've got a lot of faith in them in those spots. But adding value and the ability to move them if you needed to, that's a big part of our game. And I have a lot of trust in them, and a number of guys in this class that, when called upon, they know the power of versatility. We talk about it a lot, and not just for those two, but for others as well.
Hey Dan, as an organization, do you guys go through free agency and try to identify players with untapped potential, like a Zach Bond or other guys that have that in the past?
Can you repeat the first part?
Yeah, how as an organization do you guys approach free agency to find some of those guys maybe with untapped potential who have played a lot of snaps, but
yeah,
there's more there.
You want to make sure that bringing somebody in, you saw the traits say that's it, and can you put the person in position to do it over and over again? The worst thing we could do is bring somebody that we saw them doing one skill somewhere and then going to a new system or a new team and asking them to do something totally different. So it doesn't have to be from last year. Sometimes you go back a year. Let me go back a year before. He blitzed more then. He actually played right tackle in 2022. Those are things that you want to dig and find out, and then you have the discussion, with the ball player when that time comes to say, hey, this happened. Why did you go to this position? So you want to kind of connect the dots in the story, but at the end of it, how would we feature that player if he's here? And it doesn't mean just because he did it one way at that club that he would do it exactly that way here.
Yeah, I don't know if you talked to Raheem about it, but should the tush push be outlawed? I mean, it's come up again just in terms of what they may consider from a rule standpoint.
No, I have not discussed it with Ra. I'll let the competition committee discuss that. Until then, we're going to find ways to start to stop it. That's our job.
Last year, the need at quarterback was pretty obvious. This year, do you see obvious needs?
I think there's always ways to you keep tweaking. You keep digging in. What we have found together is our true north, and the types and the style and the attitude that we want to play. So the nice part about going into free agency, there's a lot of roles that are already, okay, yes, he can do that one. So as you get through free agency, then you supplement it more through the draft, we'll rise it. There's needs, yes. How we would feature them, who would go where. I'm also excited about the development of some players too. So all things considered, every year there's some tweaking and adjusting, and we're going to keep digging at it hard.
Last one.
You guys can both go.
To make sure David Blouch can go to another team.
Yeah.
How much of that is
It's really the first part, and we have great belief in him. This is a coach that you would not know this was his first year in coaching, and I can specifically remember him coming here last year. Had to do some recruiting to get him, and to say, I want to really be a big part of that development. And we see this, ascension taking place with you, and I thought he absolutely nailed it, in year one. And so the fact that we want him here, he wants to be here, we want to help him develop. He's really going to be, impactful for us moving forward, and so we're pumped we have him.
All right. Thanks,
I
Coach.
said, Ben, go ahead.
Just in terms of the pieces on offense to help Jaden, you guys obviously had found success with Zach Ertz and some of the other receivers. Is there like just more speed, or are you waiting for guys like McCaffrey and Sinnott, or what do you kind of see as the skill player needs to help Jaden, help the offense get to another level?
We want to attack, man, and so however we can find ways to go do that, we will. We ran the most no-huddle snaps in the league. That's part of our edge, not counting 2-minute in that. I'm saying, so finding guys that can attack, play in space, play with quickness, be violent in their cuts. Those are things at all the spots, running backs, tight ends, receivers, that we want to do. And so we're going to keep finding guys that fit that and can attack and be aggressive, and that's what we'll do. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, DQ. Appreciate it, man.
All right, you guys have it.